Okay, this is a firing pin spring spacer, and what this does is this helps put a little bit more tension on the spring, so it gives it a little bit more oomph to set off hard primers. If you've had 8mm or another type of round that does not go off easily because they're using hard primers, which is very typical of ammunition that was manufactured for machine guns, then you'd want to put one of these in your 1919. The first thing we're going to want to do to install this is we're going to disassemble the bolt. Okay, here's our bolt. For ease of disassembly, you might want to just remove your extractor, just for the heck of it. You don't need that in your way. Make sure, here's your recoil spring and recoil spring rod. This is captured in the bolt. Make sure that is securely locked into place. It has those two little steel dowels that come off of it that help lock it in the bolt. Make sure that's completely locked in. When you're handling this bolt, make sure this is pointed away from you in a safe direction, because if this does become unlocked, it is very, very dangerous. Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to remove the cocking lever, which you can do so by pulling out the pin right here. Pin out. Here's your cocking lever. Remember, the curved camming surface always goes to the back of the firing pin. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to push down the sear spring and move it towards the recess in the bolt off to the side there, and your sear will slide out. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to release that. You're going to want to pop that out of there. Do so very carefully. You don't want to bend that. That's going to come out of place, and then what's going to happen is your firing pin is going to come out. Here's your firing pin. You can see your firing pin spring in there. And where this spacer is going to go is right up in here. Now what you're going to use is you're going to use a small punch to push the pin out there. Just do so very carefully, and we'll go over doing that and installing the pin. Okay, I've got myself a small hex key here because this is just the right size for pushing out that pin. You can already see I've already started, and I'm going to go ahead and push it out all the way. You can leave it partially in there so it's partially started, and what you're going to want to do is put your finger over the end of the firing pin spring, make sure nothing shoots out of there. Release it. There's your firing pin spring. We're going to put that back in there. You're going to take your firing pin spacer, you're going to insert that in there, and what you're going to have to do is push that in there and then start the pin back in. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another tool to help push it in place, get it started in there, and then use another punch or whatever you got. Be very careful, this will shoot out of there as well. And then just go ahead and begin pushing your pin through. And then what you're going to want to do is come through the bottom here with another pin, which is going to help hold things in place. Kind of line it up, and you're probably going to end up just tapping this a little bit, helping keep everything lined up through the other side. There we go, it's installed. That's all it takes to install a firing pin spring spacer. Okay, let's go ahead and cover reassembly. first part you're going to install will be your firing pin. Your firing pin has a flat side at the back of it. This flat side is positioned towards the bottom. That flat side catches on the sear, and that's what retains the firing pin back before it's fired. So we're going to go ahead and install that with the flat portion downward. The next thing we're going to install is our sear spring. Right on back through the hole there. Push that into place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that sear spring and we're going to push it down and into the recess in the side there that retains it. We're going to install our sear from the bottom. Right there. And what we're going to do now is take that sear, push it down, and engage it into the slot in the sear spring into the slot in the sear. Last thing that we're going to do is we're going to install our cocking lever. The cocking lever goes with this rounded surface which cams on the back of the firing pin installed towards the back. I'm going to put that in place and then install our cocking lever pin. Lastly, you have your extractor. Put that back in place, and there you go, your complete bolt assembly. One more thing I want to cover with you guys before I leave you is if your bolt is cocked before you go to disassemble it, that's now in the cocked position. You can see that is free. You'll want to discharge it, and what you'll want to do is keep your hand away from this lever here, the firing pin cocking lever, and what you'll do is you'll push down on this to release the sear from the sear spring in the firing pin, and that'll decock it for you. That way it's easier for you to take apart and you don't have things flying all over the place. Alright, and if you need one of these firing pin spring spacers, just get a hold of me on beltfitshooters.com. I go by Cali Comrade, and PM me your details and we'll get you fixed up. Alright, have a great day.